Tough one down.
The Superfoiler is an absolute beast.
Coming up, no lower. No more pressure here.
High powered, super quick, very hard to manage.
Jib's on a little there.
The power of the Superfoiler is just insane.
Thanks, Jib. No better pressure out here.
And the G's when you're out in the trapeze, like no other boat I've ever sailed.
Go forwards a lot.
Power in the Superfoiler is like hopping in the fastest car and going from 0 to 100 in a few seconds.
When things go wrong in the Superfoiler, it's like no other boat. It goes from a little bad to very bad in a very short period of time.
If you basically stand on the roof of your house and jump off and land on your back, that's pretty much what it feels like as you go down the mine.
Oh! From the bow, yeah, we're all good.
If you mess things up, it can go bad pretty quickly.
I guess the best way to describe it is probably violent.
It is exhilarating, it is thrilling, and I just can't wait to have more.
You've got some of the absolute best dinghy, skiff and multi-hull sailors in the world.
These boats are going to push us as sailors further than we ever have before.
The Superfoiler is the latest and greatest boat on the water. It's going to be fast and it's going to be exciting to watch.
If this doesn't get your heart rate pumping, nothing will. A blistering South Australian day and a jaw-dropping background to match. We've assembled the greatest lineup of sailors from Australia, New Zealand, Europe and North America for this, a new chapter in Australia's long and celebrated maritime history.
We're out on the water here in Adelaide's outer harbour. A beautiful sea breeze is starting to fill in, and we're going to deliver to you the experience of the world's best sailors in a competitive environment with this new sporting format.
This is the Superfoiler Grand Prix. It all starts right here, right now. Let's meet our sailors. Euroflex is skippered by Olympic gold medalist and America's Cup helm Nathan Outeridge. His fellow London Olympic champion Ian Jensen secures the bow, while America's Cup conqueror Glenn Ashby underlines this superstar trio. Cleanmate boasts the only female skipper in the Superfoiler series, Olympic silver medalist Olivia Price. Moth World champion Josh McKnight masters the main, with former 29er world beater Harry Morton taking care of business on the bow. ID Intranet has a distinctly international flavour, with British America's Cup duo Paul Campbell-James on the tiller and Ed Powers braving the bow. World 29er champion Fang Warren is the circuit breaker in the middle. Pavement's Australian skipper Steve Thomas is coming in hot off the Sydney to Hobart crown, and countryman Reece Mara flourished in the Extreme Sailing Series. The duo will partner World Match Racing Tour winner American Dan Morris. Record Point have glory in their sights, with Kiwi World Match Racing champion Phil Robertson calling the shots. Scotland's Neil Hunter brings AC experience, while James Wazbowski will add an Australian flair. Tech 2 is chock-a-block with talent. Volvo Ocean Race winner Luke Parkinson will point it down the racetrack, and America's Cup winner Sam Newton keeps it calm on the bow. Four-time national champion Aiden Menzies gives the express stamp to this rocket ship.
No doubt a star-studded lineup competing in the Superfoiler Grand Prix. Unfortunately, yesterday they were cruelled by the wind. Let's take a look and see how the action unfolded across day one.
For the first time in the circuit's history, racing on Adelaide's Outer Harbour. For the debuts, fireworks were frosted, with the weather only allowing one race, where Euroflex immediately underlined her favourite status. As the Dream Team dazzled, Record Point, Pavement and ID battled, while Tech 2 was in a tangle of a different kind. Luke Parkinson recovering enough to get her romping.
Here we go, lads. Drive her home. Here we go, sending it hard. Low hooks.
But not for long.
That's what chaos looks like.
Nick, the whole back part of the hull has sheared off. The rudder's gone.
You all right? Sam, you all right, mate?
Well, they seem to know what's going on more than what we do as we play this through, and it all happens so quickly, Tess.
Sam's done so well to hang on there and just grab the front bar as he flies around the front. That back part's completely come off the hull, Nick.
Broke the back of the yacht off. We're gonna sink if we don't flip it over. We're gonna sink the yacht if we don't flip it over.
What difference is it gonna make?
Aiden Menzies an early contender for the most colourful on-water commentary, while after such a dramatic crash, the racing was almost sidelined to a footnote. Though South Australia's first prize belonged to Euroflex.
So puffy and tricky, lots of trim required and lots of foil adjustment, but everyone said we made it look easy, but it didn't feel easy on board.
It was the small things that made a big difference for Euroflex after our first race. Pavement and ID evenly matched. Record Point probably not where we were expecting, and that could be case in point because they were missing one of their key men on board, Jimmy Wasbowski. Jimmy, your injury is our gain as we look at our playground for the weekend. Jimmy, what went wrong?
Yeah, in training a couple of days ago we had a pretty big crash and happened to have done a bad injury to my knee, tearing my medial ligament. So I'm out for a few weeks, but I'll be joining you in the commentary box.
Fantastic to have some expert insight. We've got more expert insight down on the water's edge. Jack McCartney, what's the latest?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Down here on the water, stunning day. We've got a building sea breeze, 10 to 12 knots. We are expecting it to build slightly further. We may see 15 knots, but lovely conditions down here on the water.
Excellent stuff, Jack. I hope you've packed your sunscreen. It's burning overhead and it'll burn on our tracks soon enough. After what feels like an eternity, the chairs are in the upright position. We are ready to go flying, Tessa Parkinson.
Perfect foiling conditions for these boats out here, Nick. We're very close to our start time. Boats racking up. Everybody's on windward, close to the boat end of the line. You can see the committee boat just to the right of the screen. It's a long start line. You'll see down the bottom of the screen a black and white checkered mark here as they accelerate, and they're away. They're off the line, all on starboard. We've got narrow boundaries on this course area here, so the boats are going to really maximise their foiling time right out to the left-hand side of the course near the container ships. So we're on board Euroflex here. You can see Glenn working hard on the main sheet, Jimmy.
Yeah, absolutely. They've absolutely nailed this one. A really nice slingshot off the line, and they're just absolutely launched out to the left side of the fleet here, sailing their own air.
You can see Pavement to windward, also got a beautiful lane out to the left here, and above them again, ID, the red and grey sails there, really extending, so we've got quite a nice speed drag out to the left side of the course.
Tacking in 10. 5, going shallow. 3.
Hearing a lot of chat there from America's Cup winner Glenn Ashby, and given there's another America's Cup steerer on board in Nathan Outteridge, Jimmy, is surprised to hear Glenn being so vocal and so in control of the strategy.
Yeah, look, I think Glenny's doing a lot of the management of the team on board, and he's got really clear comms, and it's definitely one of his strengths. And Nate's just got his head out of the boat, focusing on where he needs to fly.
And where are we flying, Tessa? How is the course shaping up today?
Yeah, we've got a close contest ID crossing clear ahead of pavement there with the rainbow sails. So this is going to lead on to another crossing up the course. All the boats here are trying to maximise their distance. They sail out to the boundary line. You can see in this moderate breeze, every time they tack and make a manoeuvre, they really drop off speed. The hull hits the water and it takes time to rebuild. So we've got all boats in the race now on the same tack, heading out to the right-hand side towards the spectator boats. So Jimmy, how do we get these boats foiling and stable flight out of the water?
Yeah, it's a really interesting aspect of this racing that you see where there's so many manoeuvres being thrown. The boats are almost always accelerating. So you can see the foil that Goob's there on the front, Ian Jensen, he's pulling that up, and that's what the boat's flying on. So you can see the one there on the leeward side of the boat, that's down in the water, acts just the same as an aeroplane wing. So when they get going fast enough, the boat will just rise up out of the water.
Yeah, and the reason why they've got to pull that windward one, the hull that's flying out of the water, is to decrease drag. So every time they make a manoeuvre, they've got to change the foil positions over. So we come on board Euroflex here. You can see the skipper, all three crew out on trapeze. Jimmy, what does the skipper do on the boat?
Yeah, so you can see the boat's flying really nicely here, and there's Nathan Outteridge, left hand on the buttons, flying the boat. He's also got to drive it as well and steer it through those gusts and lulls. You can see there in front of him is Glenn Ashby in the middle, and Ian Goob's Jensen, as we call him, he's on the front. So they're both trimming the sails, and here as we go for the tack, what you'll see is Goob's jump in the boat, and he's got to transfer those foils. So he's got to pull that foil down on his side, and then as you'll see here in a sec, he's going to leap out in front of the mast, and he's got to pull that new foil up as well. So they've all got to hit the wire, get the foils up, settle the boat, get it flying again.
Yeah, it's quite a physical role. You can see on board the intensity here, pulling down the ropes. It's such hard work with all the manoeuvres in the race course. Main sheet has to go underneath the main there because it's just so low to the boat.
Nice job, big fella. Yeah, you can see there Dan Morris on the front getting the hard work done.
Go when you want. Go.
Well, Reece Mara called good work, big fella, but I don't know if he was watching what was unfolding before his very eyes, because at that very moment, ID hit the front and Pavement now sitting in third and kicking themselves.
On board ID, Ed Powers and Fang Warren, two rugby players working hard. Euroflex putting that windward foil down, getting ready for attack. They've just induced a little too much lift in the boat to fly up, a bit of a crash down out of the tack. But they'd be getting pretty close to this top mark ley line there as they come back away from the spectator boats.
Drives down just a click.
Yeah, and Glenny there just saying he's got the traveller down just a click, helping Nathan with the mode upwind. Again, such clear communication, everyone in sync here.
James, that's a good point for our listeners at home to take on board, just to trim the traveller more than the main sheet.
Yeah, when you're out there this weekend, just drop the traveller a click and you'll be off just like these guys.
These boys are well travelled. They spent some time in Bermuda for the America's Cup, and they've got the Euroflex travelling at speed now, 130 metres plus.
Yeah, I reckon we'll go close if we work on high mode here.
That gap is now out to 150 metres, but they're not sure if they will be able to lay that first mark. And Paul Campbell, James, Ed Powers and Fang Warren will be licking their lips at the prospect to pounce here.
5 away, good. No more trap down, okay? Want a high mode all the time. Want you in front of the mast in this tack, Fang. Okay, go ahead.
Paul Campbell, James with a very active role, barking instructions there versus Glenn Ashby, who is doing all the talking on Euroflex. What is all this dialogue about, Tessa?
Yeah, it's intense out on the race course here. Lots of manoeuvres, lots of things going on. So each person plays a different role. The bowman really controlling the ley line talk, the main sheet looking up the course for strategy, pressure, other boats.
And occasionally the bit of encouragement. Fang, though, in the middle, more of the silent type. He loves the walks on the beach and just getting the job done.
Yeah, CJ on the other hand, he's quite a talker. A lot going on here. You can see a pressure lane they're sailing into, so gearing up for more boat power.
Okay, standby tack.
They'll be loving this at the moment. ID looks like they've got a nice little cushion over pavement. And as Euroflex turns that first marker, well, ID will very much like their chances from here, Jimmy.
Yeah, look, they're doing really well here, the guys. They've got a really nice lay line into this top mark, and really being able to come around there with a lot of speed and on the foils is super crucial.
Tight turn there at the jibe mark. Not much room as to the boundary. So here they're trying to get foiling on the downwind. Looks like the wind might have lightened off a little bit, but we've still got 3 on trapeze. So that's a pretty good indicator, Jimmy, that they're sailing high and trying to power the boat up to get it lifted out of the water.
Yeah, such an awesome shot there you had. You know, you can see so many lines on the boat and everyone's got to be in sync. No one can do the wrong thing at the wrong time or the boat's just going to come crashing down off the foils, and you can see it's so tight here between pavement and ID. You know, one mistake and the boat's just going to leap in front.
Pavement's made up some great ground there. They've closed the gap to just 5 seconds, and it seemed like that was really their leg just then, Pavement, as ID losing even more steam right now.
Yeah, they're just taking a bit of time to get the hull flying out of the water, and the difference in boat speed from that acceleration of flying, Jimmy, is just, what, 5 knots?
Yeah, 5 knots and the rest. You know, the boats can literally double their speed, sail twice as fast as the wind. So it's really important once you've got that momentum that you hold on to it. And it's those little mistakes that bring you down off the foil. Suddenly the water hits the hull and it's just like glue and you're stuck.
So Phil grabbing the trapeze line there, hooking it onto his harness. They're trying to get max weight out here just to generate the power into this top mark to approach for the downwind, just to get the boat foiling around the mark.
Do not write off Phil Robertson and Record Point. They're coming in hot. We've got a ding-dong battle between Pavement and ID2. Euroflex enjoying her time in the Adelaide sunshine here as we really start to ratchet up things with Cleanmate in a battle between 4th and 5th, fighting Record Point all the way. Olivia Price, a silver medalist from the London Games, she'll be steaming to get her way and close the gap to Record Point.
Yeah, these sailors just make it look easy, but it's really difficult on board the boats. The accuracy and the skill involved to get these powerful machines flying out of the water.
Ready to go soon, I think, boys? Yep. Let's go forward. Okay, turning. Below this one.
Jimmy, I can't believe how relaxed everything is on Euroflex. I've had more heated conversations, more stressful moments at a bar with my mates. These guys are so relaxed.
Yeah, for sure. These guys are putting on an absolute clinic at the moment, and there's no rules of how close they can get to these spectator boats, so they're getting really close in there and really maximising the boundary.
No doubt about it. The spectators sure are getting their money's worth, and why not? Looking at the calibre of races we have here, it's not just Euroflex, it's also boats like ID Internet who are throwing down the challenge to everyone ahead of them.
Yeah, for sure. ID here just stuck like glue to the water. They can't get the boat moving.
Yeah. Let Ed do the board, okay?
Don't worry about
it. Talk to me, Fang.
Just stop right.
Got him. Okay, stand by jibe. Go when you want.
Just seeing Euroflex creep into the picture there, so crucial to get clear instructions, and interesting to hear CJ yelling for it as well.
Just go negative on that board for me.
When these boats get down speed, they're really hard to handle. They like to be up on the foils and moving along really nicely. And once you stop, you know, it can be so difficult to get going, and that's what Euroflex are doing so well here.
Jimmy, it looks hard close into the container ship. There's not much wind around there. Do you think they're maximising going in as close as they can, or they're worried about staying in the pressure?
Yeah, it's a really interesting feature on these racetracks. Obviously, you can see that there's big gusts and lulls and a few gaps between the container ships, so they're really trying to keep their eyes out and really find those puffs and try and maximise that as much as they can.
Give him some heel. Turning.
It's very difficult in these manoeuvres to get the timing right between the skipper steering and the bowman altering the foils. Because the mainsails are so low to the boat, you can't actually see the bowman, Nick, on the other side of the boat when you're steering.
ID, Nat. Stephen.
These are the next best. That's pavement. There's 500 metres between them and Euroflex. Expect Steve Thomas to drop the hammer and really close the gap.
Oh, splash, crew into the water, not enough lift in the hull there. Dropped on speed, crew weighed in. Now they've got to hook up again, really build their apparent and get the boat flying after that deceleration.
Sorry, my bad, that's all me. Keep the weight out.
Yeah, and you can just hear Phil Robertson there on record point apologising to the lads. Obviously had a bit of a bad jibe and missed the opportunity to get a penalty on pavement there.
Love an apology with a swear word there. That must be a Kiwi thing from Phil. I'm sorry, but beep, 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 expletive. And these guys on Euroflex, no one's going to tag them in the playground. They're in high school at the moment and everyone else is in a different class altogether.
Yeah, look, all of the teams have had limited training time in the boats, Nick, so this is a new experience. It's a bit of an adventure for everyone, so I think as we see more races, all the techniques are going to improve and we'll see the fleet condense and really have some close racing.
No doubt, it's amazing that they're getting these things upright at the moment, given the amount of prep time they have. Some of these guys are still coming to grips with each other's names, let alone what everything does to optimise performance, particularly Jimmy on record points sitting in fourth at the moment, your old team. It really is a case of knowing who's who in the zoo at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. I might have stitched Phil Robertson and record point up a little bit there, you know. Bit of an injury on the practice day and they've had to find some new crew pretty quickly, so pretty harsh initiation at the moment.
Looking at these boats here, we know that stability equals boat speed, and there's a lot in it, Jimmy, with the angle of heel. If they're sailing to windward, the boat towards all the crew out on the wire, or to leeward, away from the sail, what's the fastest?
Yeah, for sure. So you can see here as they come out of the tack, they were a little heeled, and there's Glenn Ashby in the middle there. He's working really hard on the mainsail to get the boat flat. The mast really vertical in the air. That's going to allow it to go as fast as it can and help get the boat up onto the foils.
Yeah, and it's all about getting nice flow over the sails and not letting anything stall out.
Yeah, definitely. And this is such an amazing shot here. You can see that middle hull just flying above the water, and that's right where we want it on this upwind leg of the course. Not too high, you start to go sideways.
Gus on the nose here. Gus on 2, 1.
Reece Mara playing the role of wind whisperer there. He's been instrumental in testing these machines, so they've got a lot of time on the boats as Euroflex starts stretching out on her final leg en route.
Ease to me if you can, I can come up a little. I'll just go straight center.
It's interesting, Nathan, they're saying ease main so I can come up a little bit. You've really got to keep the sails deep and eased so you can get the boat up, build speed, and then wind the sails back in.
Got to go before this yacht, don't we? Or can we go through the inside of it? Through the gap, I reckon. Yeah, through the gap. What do you reckon? You go through the gap.
Glenn Ashby, cool as a cucumber. What do you reckon? Yeah, let's give it another scoop of ice cream. Anything he says?
Okay, 2, 1, and turning.
It's always yes as they thread the needle. Can you imagine being in a Formula One Grand Prix and seeing the cars weave their way through the audience? That is what's happening here.
Yeah, we heard a nice boys. They're 4-point foiling, Jimmy, so beautiful curve through that turn.
Yeah, look, they pulled off a really nice job there, and you can see that unlike the upwind, they've got all their foils down for this downwind, and that's helping them get a lower mode downwind. It will be a little bit slower, but they make much better progress down the track.
Pavement's making some progress here as well, stretching out the gap between second and third.
Big turn.
Calling weight out big time there. Steve Thomas needs a speed build on the helm.
Yeah, Dan Morris doing the hard yards, pulling that centreboard up as they're sailing along. He's got so many jobs to do at once, and he's just trying to manage them all and get the most important ones done first.
Frustrating day for the crew on ID. At one stage in second, now drifting further and further away and probably feeling helpless about their chances of capturing Euroflex, who is gobbling up the course at the moment.
Yeah, Nick, we've seen the seaweed out on the course. I wonder if that's having an effect. It can easily get stuck on the foils and cause cavitation and slow the boats down and be quite difficult to get off.
We're just after that Tech 2 flag, I think.
Yeah, for sure. If you get some weed stuck on your foils, it's almost impossible to get off and can really slow the boat down.
No one's going slow at the moment, Jimmy. It's full throttle stuff. We'll find out where the places stack up after this. And Super Saturday living up to its name. What a start we've had so far today. Cleanmate doing well. Record points still very much in it, but this is our front runner.
Yep. Big call loud, talk that. Yep.
Yeah, and you can see these guys here sailing along at 25, 30 knots and totally calm on the boat. Nath just pulling off an awesome foiling jibe there. Takes so much synchronisation between the crew. Doing such an amazing job on this tight racetrack.
Now, James, you can see the finish line just appear at the top of the screen between the white mark at the very top left, and there'll be a committee boat on the other end of the line there. So they're in their final approach to the finish.
Yeah, look, they're going to try and get there in one more jibe, and the more manoeuvres they have to do, it's going to be a penalty on their speed. So they're going to try and go all the way to this boundary and try and lay in one.
Looks like they're going for it now.
And yeah, you can see just how hard Ed Powers is having to work on the front of the boat. Really interesting that they're still going with that windward foil up.
Yeah, we've seen a difference in technique on this downwind, Jimmy. There's a difference between the 3 and 4 point foiling.
Yeah, look, it's really interesting here. When they've got this windward foil up, they're going to go a little faster but sail more distance. And we've seen from the Euroflex guys, they're so good at making that 2 boards down mode work.
Huffing and puffing like the big bad wolf there as Euroflex close in. Outer Edge going all out on Outer Harbour. They're now 2 from 2, Euroflex.
Nice, boys. Nice, stop it. Good job.
Yeah, they're so chill there. You can see Gooby just catching his breath.
Or do we stop?
Fair enough question there. Do we do another lap, Glenn? They almost could and still win it, which is so surprising, given earlier in the race, this machine, ID, was pushing them all the way. Now they're struggling to hold on to 3rd position.
Stand by.
Yeah. Yeah, look, Pavement doing an awesome job here as well. They're pretty polished on the boat and they're doing most things right. They've got a good leader here in second, but you can see them going for the 4 point foiling here, the same as Euroflex. Really interesting tactic, and I think it's definitely paying off for them.
Tess, this is a great shot, letting us know how that battle for second is unfolding. We've got Pavement at the head and ID not too far behind.
Right angle. Need to head up, like 20. Yeah, well.
Test pressure starting to show there for Pavement. Have they dropped the ball here?
Yeah, look, we've seen 2 different techniques on this downwind. You can either 3 or 4 point foil. You can see Pavement, Euroflex were doing the same. They've got both main foils, so both of the front foils completely in the water, which means they sail a much lower angle, but the offset of that is it's difficult to build a high boat speed, so you could just hear Reese calling, sail higher, get going quicker.
What about this Cleanmate stalking record point, shadowing every move? It's a hot battle for 4th and 5th. And is it too early to assume that Pavement are already home and host? Have they already wrapped up 2nd place? 400 odd metres, it's going to be a tough ask for ID to shut the gate at this late stage.
Leaving the board down on the other jibe. Stand by jibe. Jibing in 3, 2, 1, go ahead.
So ID here, 3 point foiling on the downwind, so Ed's having to work with the foils throughout the jibe. Slight touchdown, little error with the lift on the foils there.
You just got to drop it.
Getting it up, Puck, we've got to get the finish.
Okay, fine.
Pressure stations there for ID. They need to get to the finish if they're going to have any chance of snuffing out Pavement.
Okay, come out when you can.
Errors like that will be costly, no doubt about it. As we see exactly how it all came undone there, and it's a chance to cool off and get ready to ignite the fire again, Jimmy.
Yeah, incredibly tough conditions to throw foiling jibes at the moment.
Talk to me about sheet extension. 85. Okay, Max, please.
Yeah, so what you're seeing here is that when they enter these jibes, they need to be going as fast as possible to have any chance of be foiling out the other side. And there's a lot of coordination as you see Ed there going to drop that foil.
I do like the fact though, Jimmy, that they're going for this 3-point foiling. I think it's got a lot of potential as we move through the series because they will be able to reach a high speed once they figure out the technique of the turn.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to take a little bit for the teams to get their numbers and their rakes dialed into those foils, and then they'll be able to get the full potential out of the boat. But you can see at the moment, teams like CleanMate you see here with all their foils down, and Euroflex just opting for the easier, safer option.
Two can almost eyeball each other here as they also eyeball the finish line. This is going to be a great little contest within the battle here for bragging rights across the whole entire Adelaide weekend. And you'd have to like their chances. You'd have to like Pavement's chances this far out from the line as well. She hasn't got too far to go to make her way to the finish line. But sloppy moves like that.
Nick, we're seeing a close battle into the finish between second Pavement and third ID here. I'm looking forward to seeing the overview. Whoever's going to come in with pressure could really win this race.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, mate. Prix just getting into Dan Morris here about easing the jib.
Great pressure. 3, 2, 1.
And then Dan doing a great job just calling those puffs into the boat, helping Steve to drive around, and Steve can focus on flying the boat there.
Looks like there's opportunities everywhere with the darker pressure bands coming down the course.
More pressure on the ship.
Go for it.
Still liking their chances here, Paul Campbell-James, the son of an Olympian. He'll be fighting his whole entire way to that finishing marker. And it's just leaving the door open more and more here, Stevie Thomas, just a little loose. And all of a sudden that gap, which was hundreds of metres, is now closing in.
Easy way.
Come on.
Yeah, the pressure's on here. We're starting to see a few mistakes at the moment as they approach the finish line.
We're going to get these guys here, boys.
Thanks, Chad.
Pretty positive on board ID.
Well, if he gets them, I'll eat my hat from there. They're not even in the picture at the moment. Pavement can almost throw a tennis ball to the finish line. This will be one hell of a Hail Mary.
Yeah, this is so close. You can see the finish, the white boy and the committee boat here, and ID flying into the screen. They've got great pressure as they pick the final ley line into the mark. They're also inside boat coming into the finish here. Nick, this is close.
Doesn't come any closer than this, Tess. I may have jinxed myself. I better open my mouth and get my hat ready because ID are going to squeak ahead of Pavement.
Nice, boys. Good finish. Well done, Ed. Well done, Frank. That was really good. Really nice work, boys.
Unbelievable finish, Tessa. Pavement throwing it all the way, but ID squeaking home there by 2 seconds.
Yeah, you've got to keep on your game right to the end and try and connect together these opportunities, and credit to Team ID. They did a great last downwind there, and they showed that 3-point foiling's got potential to be super, super quick.
It sure does, and we look at the results from our second race here in South Australia. Euroflex, in the end, with plenty of breathing space at the top, but it was this battle between ID Intranet and Pavement that will send chins wagging in the boat park for a long time to come.
Want a high mode all the time. Want you in front of the mast in this tack bank.
Flying through the spectator boats out there would just be loving it, getting so close to the action.
Well done, Ed. Well done, Frank. That was really good. Really nice work, boys.
Adelaide, synonymous with stunning scenery, world-class wine and delectable cuisine. But as I've discovered this week, it's the quirky characters that put the icing on top. I asked our Olympic silver medalist and clean-made skipper Olivia Price to discover more.
That's insane.
So Olivia, talk me through it. How was your experience here today?
That was incredible. It was like a sensory sensation. I could smell, touch. I got a little bit lost through the stripy, sparkly things, but all in all, it was really cool.
And have you enjoyed your time in Adelaide so far? What have you been up to aside from all the work you've been doing on the boats?
Yeah, so Adelaide's a beautiful city. I've never been here before. So yeah, I was excited to come down. The city is beautiful and the water is amazing. It looks really cool.
And a massive weekend for you this weekend, obviously the start of the series, but also back in competitive sailing after a long time out. How does that feel for you?
Yeah, definitely. I'm really looking forward to getting back into racing, especially the calibre of the fleet that are involved in the Superfoiler. It's such a positive experience to be down here and hanging around with, you know, the world's best sailors.
And you're obviously the boss of your boat, of the Clean Maid. How have you gone barking orders so far? How's it been received, do you think?
I think I'm not that bossy. Actually, people are, Josh in particularly, is, yeah, you know, making sure that I'm making the decisions, and Matt Chu on the front for Adelaide, this event, is really good in just giving me a bit of confidence and making me back myself. So I think we're going to be a really good team down here and just ready to go racing.
What's Clean Maid actually going for? First race in Adelaide, is it finishing? Is it winning? Is it somewhere in between?
I think this weekend is just a massive learning curve for us. It's going to be interesting to see how everyone races. We haven't raced against each other yet. We've done a couple of lineups. So that's going to be a key thing, is just trying to get around the race course cleanly and make it across the finish line 3 times each day.
And how tight will the racing be, at least this week in Adelaide? Do you expect everyone will be a bit nicer, give everyone a bit more room, or do you think the teams will want to throw their weight around a little bit already?
I think everyone's here for one reason, and you know, that's to take out the series. So I think that you know, I'm probably the least experienced in foiling sailing, so I think our learning curve is going to be huge. Let's see what this weekend brings, and then bring on the next 4.
Olivia, when the racing wraps up this week, you've hopefully had a few good results. Are you planning on checking out any of the wineries in the McLaren Vale or the Barossa while you're here?
Oh, I'd definitely love to come back here. This is an amazing place. Depending on how quickly we can pack our boat away is depending on how quickly I can get down to the wine region and check a few more places out.
Olivia Price, like a fine red wine, getting better with age, and our machines are getting better with every minute on the water, and already we're underway for race 2. Who's made the best of the early going tests?
It's a close start, Nick. All boats are on starboard. We've got a bit more breeze, so they're foiling nicely here. You can see pavement. Looks like they're going for an early manoeuvre, tacking, first ones to tack onto port. Record Point are going to reach the boundary line first. They're the most lured boat going into attack now. But the winner starts here have come from Euroflex and Team ID. They've got great lanes, and you can see they can carry that starboard tack all the way to the boundary line.
We ride on board with Pavement, and Jimmy, a great start for your former team.
Yeah, look, you can see all the teams are fully lit now, and Record Point are off to a great start, so hopefully they can convert this up the beat.
Again, the team to catch is most certainly Euroflex. They made it look easy in our first race of the day. What can we expect from the second race, Jack?
Yeah, Nick, the Euroflex team are doing a very nice job of getting further up the track through staying in a higher mode. This means that they're going a shorter distance to the top mark, so eking out a little lead at the moment.
What about these big freighters, these huge container ships? What role will they have on the wind patterns?
It's already a very narrow racetrack, so this just makes it more interesting because they've got to do more tacks and more jibes. I don't think it's going to affect the breeze all that much at the moment. It's a very straight down the guts breeze, but expect some action around the top mark with the barroways.
Tessa Parkinson, straight down the guts. Is that a Bureau of Meteorology term or a Superfoiler special?
Look, that's quite traditional racing. It's a straight upwind and a straight downwind, which means you can see these boats on the upwind, they've got a tack. You can't sail straight into the wind because the boat will just go backwards. So they're tacking at about 45-degree angle either side of the wind direction.
And Jimmy, it sounds like the wind is whirling out there at the moment. How hard is it to communicate when it does start to pick up like that?
Yeah, look, it's really tough to start to communicate when it does get this windy. You will hear the boats at certain times start whistling, and the faster you go, the louder that will get. So it can be really difficult, especially in the manoeuvres.
Whenever you're ready, go straight. Yep.
It might be hard going out there, but still time for a laugh aboard Euroflex, and why not when you've won the first two in convincing fashion? Why not have a bit of fun out there in South Australia? Just soak it up, enjoy the moment, know you're the three best in the world, and everyone else at the moment, Tessa, is just playing catch up.
Yeah, you can see how enjoyable these boats are to sail in this wind strength. It's, 13 to 14 knots. This building sea breeze we've got out there is just ideal conditions. You can see they're easier to maintain stable flight off the water. They're not touching down so much.
What do you reckon, Gibbs?
All on you, CJ. Lightning on the rock wall. Could be there's one in here,
And already 2 races in, maybe fatigue starting to set in a little bit. Everyone on board all of a sudden with an opinion that counts as Euroflex round their first marker in this, our third race of the series here in Adelaide.
A lot of pressure onto the top mark Barraway. It's a 180-degree turnaround here, trying to stay foiling, but Team ID, they've gone in close to the rocks. Not as much pressure there, so Ed Powers at the top backing the jib to get the bow away to come back towards the top gate.
Just get track for me, ready, track. Okay, gain big here, boys. Trabs at your feet.
You get a good idea of just how much work Ed Powers does on the boards there. He's, according to our DEXA body scan, one of the leanest, meanest and most agile of all the athletes, and easy to see why he's shedding so much weight. He's working so hard.
And it looks like at the top mark, that right-hand side is just an easier curve to go around because you've got more time after the barraway before the jibe. Whoa, lots of pressure on there for Team Pavement. So trying to get through the max power zone, they've just stalled out there. James, what do they have to do to get through that manoeuvre?
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult to pull off these barraways in this much wind, and the biggest advantage you can have is be going as fast as possible and be up on the foils, and that's going to help you pull through that power window and get the boat away.
My word, they get close to those markers. A couple of the guys, Dan Morris almost collected it earlier. They really do get nice and close. They really want to minimise the distance they can travel and get the speed up as quick as they can. It's pretty wet work out there on your old ride record point there, Jimmy.
Yeah, absolutely. If you get it right, you'll just get absolutely carted down the course and take so many metres out to the teams that can't quite pull them off, as you see record point. Still struggling a bit all the way to this ley line, and another down speed job.
Well, there's still plenty to fight for as 2, 3 and 4, ID, Pavement and Record Point eyeball each other. They'll close the gap after this. The backdrop is absolutely beautiful and the skirmish is still on here in South Australia. Euroflex does have a handy lead, but that could all vanish soon enough. No doubt about that, Tess.
Big pressure lane opportunities, and there's about 17 knots now, so the boats are able to foil jibe almost and build great speeds on the downwind. On board here with Team ID.
Yeah, the guys are working super hard here. It's getting towards the end of the race and their heart rates will be almost at max, and they're still got to try and make some clear decisions.
Sounding like Fang's just run up a set of stairs there. He's absolutely gasping for air.
They're pushing these boundary lines pretty hard, going right into the container ships so they can get a long runway out of the jibe.
So what Euroflex are doing so well in this series so far is that they're coming into these bottom gates really fast, which means they can exit just as fast, foiling straight back onto the upwind.
Getting an idea of those distances as Euroflex turns the marker. It's almost 5 football fields is the next best. Such is the skill, such is the precision of the trio on Euroflex. It is a delight to watch.
Almost just displacement into this tack, eh? 5 away, Goobs. 3, 2, 1.
Windward foil goes down before the tack here. As that windward foil goes down, the bowman's got to take their crew weight off the wire, so the skipper's got to feather the boat a little bit closer to the wind to lose some of the power to turn through.
Yeah, an awesome comms there from Glenn, actually calling to not foil at that time. So if you try and push the foil when there's not enough wind, you're just losing ground, sailing extra distance trying to get the boat up and into the air. So really clear comms from him there saying, nah, let's just keep it in the water and wait for that next gust.
Clean made going into a jibe here. They're doing well, gaining some ground on the downwind, and main sheet trimmer here, Josh McKnight, he's a Moth World champion, sailing well.
Human cleat.
And some self-reflection there from Glenn Ashby, calling himself a human cleat. That is just absolute comedy gold from one of the funniest men in the boat park.
Maybe he's getting tired. It's a bit hard to keep working the main in this pressure, or he got it wrapped around his foot. I'm not sure there, Nick.
Well, you'd think all the strength in his arms from the America's Cup when hoisting the old mug would have strengthened him up, as those boys get really close to cleaning themselves on one of the spectator boats too. And why not? It's the best seat in the house. They could have almost high-fived the skipper of that craft.
Yeah, it's all right. Big Ease is good, eh?
Yeah, and there you can hear Glenn asking for big eases, just confirming with Nath that what he's doing is feeling good from the back of the boat. That's just keeping the boat in that accelerating mode.
Yeah, Glenn, they're talking about easing the main sheet to reattach the flow. When the boats drop speed, you start to sail to your true wind again, and to reattach that flow, you've really got to ease a lot of sheet, get the depth back in the sail, build your boat speed, and then trim it on to reduce the drag.
And it is such a fine margin, you need to get everything right. There's the battle for second and third, ID and Pavement, 2 familiar foes. They went toe-to-toe in the last, and they're lining each other up again.
The pressure's a bit more varied over the course now, so it's going to be a close upwind. Pavement coming into the ley line with a bit less speed. Team ID with a clear rounding. So this is going to be close on the upwind. Pavement rounding the bottom mark, so they're going from sailing downwind to an upwind angle. So they've rounded to about 45 degrees to the wind. What's got to happen in that manoeuvre, James?
Yeah, so it's a big transition going around those bottom marks. And what we see Euroflex doing so well is just rounding with speed. And you see these two teams here not quite getting it right and a little bit slow around that bottom mark. But we're just going to go from that powered up setting downwind to flattening the sails because we're turning upwind onto the breeze, try and get the boat moving again.
So the closer the angle you are to the wind, so on the upwind you've got to have the sails right down the midline, the centre of the boat, really pinned in. And then on the downwind you can ease them to really get the wind behind you.
Yeah, so you can see here that we flatten off the sails a lot, sheet them in really tight and reduce the drag, try and make the boats as efficient as possible. And you can see Pavement there just struggling to get underneath that spectator boat there, really overpowered. And they've got this heel, they need to flatten the boat, ease the sheets and get it moving.
They had both of the main foils in the water there, James. Do you think that was making it hard for them to bear away?
Yeah, possibly a little hard for them to bear away there. And you can see right here, Goob's doing such a nice job dropping that board, really dropping it with a perfect rake, which makes it just glide down and makes his job easier.
Windward heel's pretty nice out of it, eh?
So they're talking about the angle of heel. So windward heel means that the mast is angled towards the sailors, and that, Glenn was saying to us, it feels nice. So deloads the boat having that mast on top of you.
Yeah, they've got the boat absolutely ripping here. Everything in sync and really efficient.
Oh, that's better. Bit of camo for me.
So Fang Warren on main calling for some more Cunningham. So that's a good depowering tool to flatten the sail and decrease the drag and get the boat working more efficiently.
And the headmaster, Paul Campbell-James, says not a priority. He's too busy closing down the gap on Euroflex and putting a bit more cushion into Pavement as well. As he looks back, surveys the scene, and I think he'd like what he's seeing. Asking to use his lats some more, someone who's got powerful lats is Jack. What's happening with Euroflex?
Yeah, thanks Nick. Just looking at the Euroflex tacking for the final time going into the top marks. The breeze is built and is now at about 17 knots. This is going to be a big bear away. And Nathan and Glenn and Goobs are really up for this sort of stuff. So they're going to get into a foiling mode and rip it away. So keep your eyes on this because they're going to go from 20 knots to about 35 knots in a blink of an eye. There you go. And this is where you get the jet fighter look about the boat. They're rolling up to top speeds right now.
Love it when a plan comes together. The Euroflex doing exactly that. Whistling Dixie at the front of the race here. 750 metres and climbing.
These boats are really picking up speed. You just go so much faster on the downwind and you can hear that whistling noise. Is actually the foils tracking through the water there. Euroflex lifted a little bit high. You can see the L shape of the main foils just pierce the top of the water there. It's easy to get stall out, so a lot of accuracy is required.
Really slow here for a bit. Twisting a lot here. Here we go.
It's like being in a car when you go from super fast to a 50 zone, everything seems slow.
You can hear on the main sheet asking to, or twisting the main off a bit more here. Less trim, deepening the sail, getting the power, building speed, and then they'll start to sheet it on.
So what they're trying to pull off here is a full foiling jibe. So you can see here they make it most of the way through. And they've just crashed down at the end there, but they won't be too unhappy with that. They've made it most of the way through and carried quite a lot of their speed.
Power coming on now.
Gee, they're really not far away from nailing a full foiling jibe. Tessa Parkinson, it must come soon.
Yeah, look, this is early days in the boats. The guys haven't had a lot of training time, so each race they're just improving, you know, more and more. So I'm sure by Sydney we'll be able to see the full foiling jibe, which will be pretty cool to see. You can see the buttons on the tiller here. For the skipper, there's one on the main tiller arm when you're sitting down on the tramp, and there's a second set of buttons out on the end of the tiller arm. So they're the electronics that control the lift through the rudders and through the leeward main L foil.
90. Max trim.
Fang Warren just saying he's at max trim there.
It's quite common, you hear them call 70, 80, that's the percentage they are off max main trim.
And we're almost at 100%, reaching our climax ASAP. The hustle and muscle of ID Intranet still fighting on, pushing all the way, stalking Euroflex, making sure they know they're not home and hosed just yet.
The sea breeze has come in nicely, so we've seen some top speeds out on the racetrack. All the three crew getting out on the wire here. Look, the ID is overlaid the top mark here.
My Trav, your main. Okay, chuck main to me.
And a bit of confusion as it was all unfolding as well, a bit of chaos.
It's not easy coming into a bearaway, not being at max speed, James.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw them overlay that mark and have to duck below it, overpowered, trying to get the boat under control to get it away.
It's all good. She's just going.
You see there Glenn Ashby working super hard on that main sheet.
So, one more lap, eh? No? One more lap? We've been to the bottom once. It's only 2 laps, isn't it? Yeah, no, we're good. Oh, good. Copy that.
Bit of course confusion on board, Nick.
Ian Jensen just adding the mathematics on board and working out they have done enough. They're all good to close in on another victory. They are on their final leg, despite the confusion there for a moment.
Yeah, they've done an absolutely awesome job this race. A little bit of time up their sleeve here, and they're just going to take a few seconds to catch their breath.
Just to make a bit of a point of it. Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, it does, eh? It does, really.
Yeah. Every millimetre matters, no doubt about that, Jack. A clean mate going okay, or are they dragging the chain?
Oh, well, it's easy to say they're dragging the chain, but I think they're doing a great job. This is really tough conditions, and Liv and the guys have just got through Phil, and they're really sailing really well.
Here's our terrific trio prancing on to a treble of victories. They're the best in the business, world class, and again, they just make it look too easy.
So that finish line spans the bay, the black and white checkered mark at the front of the container ship, and then down on the bottom left-hand screen, that's the committee boat. So they're going straight through that finish line right now.
I believe the technical term for that finish is going up through the guts.
Yeah, look, the guys will be stoked with that. They've got the gun smoke this race, and make no mistake, it is extremely windy out there. This is really top-end conditions for these boats. Obviously, these guys are a little more polished than the others, and that's why they're able to put the race away so easily, but it's absolutely all on for these other teams at the moment.
One good thing, James, they are easy boats to rest on in between races. You can see just coasting downwind easily, sitting on the tramp, trying to grip the bow and the main sheet guys a bit of a rest. Onboard ID here, they're smoking it on the downwind, coming into the finish here. 3-point foiling, this is pretty cool to see, James.
Yeah, good to see them got the board up and going absolutely full pace. With a little more wind, they can pull that off. But don't get me wrong, it's absolutely on a knife edge with that board up, and it'll be extremely unstable as they come up for this job here.
Little cavalier there from Paul Campbell, James, just willing to risk it for the biscuit, and why not? They want to close out another second place. They want to put more distance on them and pavement on the overall regatta leaderboard. And sometimes you've just got to push if you want to take home the cookies.
Looks like, James, they might have found an in-between mode, just compromising having the windward board lifted up at 3-point foiling for max speed, but then just having the two crew out on the wire so they can still go that lower angle and really get some depth down the course.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a really fine balance as you see Ed Power's just diving under the main there.
Two crew in, they're just avoiding one of the shipping marks, shipping channel marks.
On board with Record Point, and Phil Robertson not happy with the tiller there.
Right, boys, I'm just out of control here.
Just said he's out of control, and he's not wrong there. They planted it.
Wow, it's capsized over. It looks like he lost control of the rudder buttons there. They might have just swiveled around the rudder arm.
Phil Robertson gives the all clear as Record Point starts sinking, Jack.
Yeah, that was a big nosedive. They accelerated and the boat flew higher, and then they've just done a big nosedive and cartwheeled, and so that's a special capsize, that one. So we've got the safety guys in there straight away, and they'll help get the boat upright and make sure the sailors are all healthy and okay.
We just don't have a boat. Sorry, boys.
At least they're in good spirits on board.
True story, eh? Guys, I'm out of control here.
Yeah, and he's admitting there he just didn't have control, and waboomfa, that's a new one. We must add that into the commentary, as this is a moment it all went wrong for them, and Phil called it. And then thankfully he called out to let us know that everyone was okay as he comes sliding down there.
Yeah, so what we saw there is his rudder buttons and his main foil control buttons actually swiveling upside down. So as his brain is trying to think twice as fast as to which button to push, he's gone the wrong way there and sent the boat into the sky and then down the mine.
We're going to go turtle here, eh? Try and get on this hull.
And that's another look at just how precarious these superfoilers are when they start tipping over. You don't have any prospect of resurrecting them, and not a bad holding on effort there from Phil as he just disappears, and a great effort from these guys. ID Intranet crossing in second. They're second for the day, and even more of a cushion now over the pavement trio. They'll be loving that as Ed Powys takes a moment just to compose himself and get some water and celebrate a job well done ahead of these guys. Pavement crossing in third.
Pavement just through the finish line now, within the time limit. They've done a great job getting around the course here, foiling through the downwind.
Yeah, it's awesome to see the different modes working here, and this is what we talk about when they're on all four boards. So, but it's very stable, and you can see here just practicing another jibe and absolutely smoking that one. That's perfect. That's one of the best jibes we've seen today.
It was entry speed. Yeah, you're right. Keep working here. We're not quite.
As the salvage operation down on Record Point continues, They managed to get it upright here on Outer Harbour. It's a great job from all concerned, including the 3 sailors who've spent more time swimming in the last little while than they have dry. They'll be relieved she's upright, but it's going to be a hard ask to get Record Point ready for the final race on our Saturday program.
Yeah, really tough to see that for those guys. They're really starting to get on a roll here, but they need a big reset if they want to get in this next race.
This is how it all panned out across race 3. Euroflex notching up their treble. ID again with the spoils of second, and Steve Thomas pushing all the way. The question remains, can anyone climb the wall that is Euroflex and go on to claim a win? We'll find out soon. South Australia, it's not just a playground for the Superfoilers, it's also a hustling and bustling port town. And that's where its AFL team gets its name from, the Port Adelaide Power. They came along and found out just how much power was behind the Superfoiler.
Figuring out a way to not fall off, I think, is probably the biggest key, and enjoy the ride and take it all in at the same time. That's probably what I'm looking forward to most.
Now we're talking a few horror stories there, which probably didn't help the confidence early days, but it's worth a crack.
Hold up. Alright. Look after yourself. Yeah. Ready for the big jump? Yeah, come on in. And then you can kind of brace yourself with that one. Okay. And hold on to that black strap there.
Getting up to 50 k's an hour out in the water doesn't seem like that fast when you're on the road, but on the water when you're literally above it and flying, just saying you wouldn't want to fall off at that speed.
Yeah, a little bit nervous, but I put my trust in the boys, and I'm sure that they'll look after me out in the water.
Can carry on? Up here.
Amazing experience, really, really cool. It's like just the speed and even the agility of the boats was, you just felt like you're always on edge.
It's amazing how quickly they move and how agile they are. Yeah, we're just holding on for dear life, so.
Thanks for that. No worries. Almost killed you, but...
Yeah, you actually feel like you're flying, which is pretty unreal.
Great stuff from the Port Power guys, really good sports there, and I can only count 4 boats here at the moment. Tessa Parkinson, so Record Point unable to make it to the start line.
Yeah, you can just see them getting back on the uprighted boat there, but we're under a minute until the last start of today's racing. So you can see we've got 4 boats in this race. They're lining up, they're working on their slow boat handling, judging the time on distance from the line, having a look at the pressure up the course. They'd be building a strategy as to when they're going to accelerate here.
You can sort of shut them out a bit.
14 seconds to go. The committee boat there on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the start flag up. We're very close, about 6 seconds now to the start. ID, there we go, winning the boat end of the start here, flying off the line. What a great start from all 4 teams here. You can see they've all gone for the boat end approach here, wanting to maximise their distance to the boundary.
Yeah, so awesome start here by all the teams, really getting that slingshot nailed and trying to hit the line at full speed and not be a single centimetre over. It's extremely difficult to calibrate. These boats accelerate so fast, it's so hard to gauge how quick it's actually going to take off underneath you.
ID Intranet rolling here over Euroflex.
Start attacking.
A super tight battle here. ID just getting over the top of Euroflex and giving them some bad air. This is a great opportunity for them to get legs out up the first beat and really lead this race.
Dead right there, Jimmy. Paul Campbell-James, obviously with a couple of lessons from the Port Adelaide Power fans and players, and he's putting on a show at the front at the moment.
Yeah, look, they got the boat going really nicely here and on board with pavement there. You can see Cleanmate just coming over the top. really tight there, and Cleanmate's going to try and do the same thing as CJ and get the bow down over pavement and really disturb their air.
It's quite a challenge on this race course just to keep your air clean and maximise your distance between the boundaries.
More to go, Fang. Max.
Copy. Yeah, you can hear the fever on board there with CJ, really keeping the boys nice and tight in a tough position.
Okay, stand by tack. Go, Ed.
Critical manoeuvre this one.
Go.
They need a fast tack here on that right-hand boundary. They've got rights and they're still ahead of Euroflex.
Beautiful camera angle, that one, as we see Ian Jensen take a look at what's ahead of him. This is a really thrilling duel unfolding, and let's not forget the battle between Cleanmate and Pavement as well. We might only have 4 machines, but they're all throwing it down at the moment. You could cover them with a blanket at the moment. This is fantastic racing. It's what we've been waiting for, and the boys are delivering.
Attacking these boys, it's nice. Max weight, please.
You can hear CJ asking max weight, max main trim. He's giving this everything he's got. They're really powering the boat up here, trying to keep a little bit higher to get up to Euroflex's line. But this is the first upwind we've seen ID in front of Euroflex.
It's awesome to see, and some 50 metres as well. It's nothing to sneeze at. On the first leg, they're already putting some serious metres into Euroflex, and maybe, just maybe, this is the chink in the armour they needed to see to really drive the wedge home. But just on cue, the Wizard of Wanji weaves his wand, and here they go again, the Euroflex boys. Oh, it's close.
Yeah, and you can see really good anticipation there from the guys on Euroflex. They've made it a little further up that initial boundary, and now they're in the gap between the ships. So really good strategical move there, and CJ's just been bounced early. So I think they're going to lose a little bit of distance there, and Euroflex could come back strong here.
Quite hard on this race course, Jimmy. There's good breeze coming down the middle. It looks lighter on each side of the course.
Go harder, Fang.
CJ wants a little more from the ID boys. He wants them to go that little bit harder, and they need to, because their lead from 50 metres has evaporated. Now they're trailing.
Okay, stand by tack.
It's tense stuff out on there as they're on other sides of the course at the moment, eyeballing each other. It's like a dogfight.
So here Euroflex has taken a good chunk of distance, just maximising that left-hand boundary, and CJ's still got rights here, but it looks like Euroflex might cross in front.
Such a close cross before. I wonder if we'll see that kind of proximity again as ID jumps on her foils like a pterodactyl.
So difficult there. You can see the slightest mistake and these Euroflex guys are going to take full advantage, make you pay the full price.
You can see on board, knowing which mode to sail. We've got 3 different modes on the upwind. Your VMG is your velocity made good, so that's the fastest angle you can sail, covering the shortest distance around the course, upwind to the top mark. A high mode is a closer angle to the top mark, but a slower boat speed. And then a speed groove is your bow down, maximising boat speed, covering a bit more distance. So you can see the teams transitioning between high, low and VMG mode to minimise their manoeuvres across this narrow racetrack.
Go.
Yeah, it's really important for your overall strategy, planning this beat from a long way down.
Anyone see him? Okay, we're easy. All good.
Anyone see him? CJ, we can see them. They're right in front of you. You're coming in hot. Open your eyes, son.
Nick, you hop on board one of these going 25 knots with filled-in sails, and we'll be asking each other, where are we?
Oh, well, I know right where we are, Tess. We've got the best seat in the house, and there's more action to come. We're going to find out if ID can get over the top of Euroflex. We're on giant shoulders at the moment, on board Euroflex.
Not far from a board drop here. Standing by. In you come. Go board.
Yeah, you can see the uncharacteristic mistake from Euroflex just falling off the foils just before that jibe. This is going to be a really slow one. CJ's going to be licking his lips here.
Just keep it down. Yep. Take some lift there, Goobs. I'm probably minimum.
And Nathan Outridge just saying their Goobs need a little more lift. We've got all the foils down, so they've got to have the bowman, Ian Jensen. He's now trimming that windward foil, and they have to be completely in sync. See Pavement here, they've got their windward foil up, opting for that faster option downwind. It's going to be a little more difficult to handle, a little more unstable as they go, but higher top speeds.
Yeah, and plenty of strategy out there on the course. Cleanmate certainly making the most of her time in the sun. Jack, you're on the water. How's it unfolding in front of you?
Yeah, that was really well handled by Olivia and the Cleanmate. That was very windy around the top mark. She had one failed attempt to bear away, then had another go at it and nailed it. So that's great work by the Cleanmate. Pavement's going to come roaring down here in great breeze as well, so watch out for Steve and the boys to really let them fire.
Looking forward to that, and it does seem that Cleanmate is firing at the moment. She's in a hot battle, Olivia Price, a fantastic sailor, and according to her, pretty handy in the kitchen when it comes to making pasta bake as well, Tess. Have you sampled that?
I haven't been able to, Nick, but I agree. Look, she's doing an outstanding job here with her two crew, Josh McKnight and Matt Chew. They're opting for the 4-point foiling on the downwind in this little contest they've got going on board with Pavement. You can see Pavement have got their windward foil out of the water, so they're going for that top speed. They do have to cover more distance, which puts a lot of pressure on the mechanics of the manoeuvres here. Going into another jibe, coming through, you'll see the bowman then out of the jibe, lift up that windward foil and get the boat flying. So it's a real challenge to decide which technique's going to work on these downwinds in this varying pressure and the narrow racetrack.
Dan Morris certainly looking intense. Jimmy, in a race like this one, when you know you really are in a hot battle between Pavement and Cleanmate, does the intensity go up a level? Do you really start to push those little small gains there?
Yeah, absolutely. And you see Cleanmate here absolutely smoking it. They got way better pace than the Pavement team, and they're actually making much better distance down the track. So look, Olivia's eating up those meters really quick, and Pavement's got to get a move on or she's just going to smoke straight by.
We saw Steve Thomas get leapfrogged on the finish line by ID in an earlier race today. I think Steve Thomas will be having a few wobbly moments on that tiller right now, Tess.
Yeah, look, these boats need some runway to speed build and really get flying. And this narrow racetrack, I think the 4-point foiling is almost a more conservative option. It means you can cover more distance and you don't have to do as many manoeuvres and speed build. So close contest here, and we can see that 4-point foiling off Cleanmate. That cleaner lower angle is working for them here as they've got nice stable flight through the water. Pavement coming up, a bit more pressure on board.
Copy that. Alright, I'm alright. Instruction, got a jibe?
Yeah, Olivia Price doing an awesome job there. She's got this race. Pavement's got to do something here.
Cherry marker.
Well, how exciting for Olivia Price. She was given a small window and she's just burst through and created a doorway. Awesome racing from her.
Great job. Copy. See him? Yeah. Yeah. Clear here. All right, I'm all right.
Yeah. Seemed pretty concerned about where Pavement was. Probably should have had a little more concern about where Euroflex was.
All right. Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, Maddie Chew on the bow there and Josh McKnight, the Moth World Champion, in the middle. They got this boat going really well as they just crash off the foils there. Nothing's guaranteed, but definitely finding the right mode for most of this downwind. And Steve Thomas is going to be scratching his head. He's not going to know what happened there.
So difficult to be able to pick that accurate angle with so much going on the boat and the pressure going up and down and so many jibes here. So it's just, you know, it looks easy when we see them stably flying through the air, but that trim, the button, the accuracy of the skipper on the foils is just critical to control that ride height.
Yeah, and you can see how hard these sheets are to pull in. Glenn Ashby in the middle having to bend his back and bend his knees just to get that sheet on. It's incredibly heavy. And here you go, here's ID coming out of the tack. Just hang off the wire, hook up, and then Ed Pow, you can see he's gassed. He's really got to dig deep here to get that foil up and keep it moving.
The teams that are 3-point foiling on the downwind is putting a lot more pressure on the physicality of the bowman's role.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as you go to those 3 boards, you've suddenly got to just create a whole lot more work for yourself. Every tack, every jibe, you have to be pulling those boards up. So it does make it more difficult, but it's definitely a trade-off, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get the boat around the course as fast as possible.
2 close races for ID already today, perhaps starting to take their toll. At one stage, they led this race by 50 metres. Now they trail our front runner by nearly 500. Things can happen so quickly on these Superfoilers, even when they're travelling at 17 plus knots.
Yeah, the acceleration and deceleration is just huge on these boats. So little lull here, out of the tack. Whoa, Nick, we've lost, yeah, Someone's fallen out overboard in that tack there.
Well, that's a surefire way to lose some speed. And judging by the terrible stroke, I'd say it's Paul Campbell-James doggy paddling his way to safety. Are they going to slow down here? Surely they must.
Look, we can see there the universal joint, so the tiller extensions come away from the rudder arm. And Nick, I think we'll see our jet ski rescuers who are out on the water come quickly and pick him up there, but the boys have got that tiller extension back reattached.
Oh, Paul Campbell-James, nice dismount there, probably 4.5 for the splash landing. Certainly a little sloppy there. I wonder if it's going to be as sloppy trying to get on board ID, our second placed at the moment. Here comes the jet ski whizzing to get him back on there.
Yeah, it's really tough for the skipper. Everyone on the boat's got something solid to hold on to except for him. So when he leans on that tiller, if he leans too hard or becomes unbalanced, well, he's just turning the wheel of the boat and he's going to flick him straight off.
I think they're going on sailing without him here.
It doesn't look like they're too upset as Fang takes the tiller and Ed Powies powers on. And, well, this is going to be a long ride for Paul Campbell-James. He's got to think of a suitable excuse. Meanwhile, the boys have to decide if they want to let him back on.
We're going to tap first. You ready? 2, 1.
And I guess you can sail these Superfoilers with only 2 people on board, but certainly a lot easier with 3. This is going to be interesting to see if CJ can get back on in one go. I imagine, Jimmy, this isn't something you train for, getting back on at speed.
No, it's definitely not something you've trained for. And look, CJ will be stoked to be back on that ski because we've been geeing him up about the sharks in South Australia for a while now.
See, they're not easy boats to slow down. Fang and Ed have both done a lot of 49er sailing here, which is the 2-person Olympic skiff class. So you can see they're using their technique. CJ, quick transition back on board the boat. These guys will be able to continue racing. With the rules, the jet ski can pick anyone up when they fall in the water. They're allowed to hop back on the boat and continue racing. So they're all good now, pretty sorted, pretty minimal damage considering someone was overboard.
I'm amazed they gave it back to them as we see Euroflex there giving it to everyone behind them on their final leg, closing in on another race win here. They are putting it on and sending it high. Everyone else at the moment is just holding on for dear life, and occasionally, as we've just seen, the grip slips. Paul Campbell-James pushing so hard he ended up in the drink.
We're still boating on the canoe too, so I can't, I've got nothing in my sheet here. It's got nothing here at all in my sheet. It's coming now. Here we go.
Yeah, and you can see there, Goobs, the bowman there, leaning in, pushing those buttons, trimming that windward foil, and that's going to help Nathan fly the boat. They have to be in sync.
Nice blast, big twist here.
An amateur DJ, perhaps his fingers sure was on the button just then, Goobs. As we see Euroflex is continuing their stranglehold on the Superfoiler Grand Prix, closing in on victory number 4. Everyone else will be battling it out for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and we'll find out if ID's little incident is going to cost them a podium spot. Four from 4, Tessa Parkinson, the Euroflex. They're the best in the world. They're proving it right now. What would they be thinking as they close in on a clean sweep of Saturday?
Yeah, great sailing. They're on the final leg here into the finish line. The bowman's working pretty hard getting the lift on the foils right, having a look at the ley lines and their final approach into the finish line.
Going above them. Okay, stand by, Joe.
Yeah, great. Okay, clear.
Joby.
Jimmy, it looks like they've done enough at the moment to hold on to 2nd, or is the battle going to continue until they physically cross that line?
Yeah, look, there's heaps happening here, and it's anyone's game still at the moment. ID just hemorrhaging a little bit downwind here, losing a few metres, not quite getting the mode right, but here's Euroflex just absolutely smoking across the finish line.
You can see that's not the finish boat on the screen there. They've got a little bit further to sail. They're going to do one more jibe. Rolling through here, you'll see the finish boat and the pin approach very, very shortly. They're very close to the finish.
Tessa, they've got so much of a buffer, they could roll out a picnic mat, open a cold one, and still celebrate victory. This has been peerless today.
Yeah, look, they've just realised the finish is up a bit, so they've raised the windward foil to allow the boat to sail higher. got more weight out on the wire there, pinned the sails in, sailing a little bit higher, and we'll see the finish just come into the picture there with that black and white checkered mark. Just crossing the line here very shortly.
And just hearing Nathan Outeridge there say we've kept it in one piece. Such is the difficulty of taming these beasts, Jimmy.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking to preserve the assets here. They're going to do a full check over the boat and make sure it's ready for the next one.
Further back, the battle continues. Paul Campbell-James's slip-up as pavement prowling.
Big shoulders,
Calling big shoulders, weight out, just trying to get real control over the boat.
Yeah, and you can see pavement there on the inside. They're going to have a really good shot at ID here, and they might take the lead. There's a really close battle for second place here.
This is so difficult for all teams. I mean, this is their 4th race so far in the series. They've had very limited training time. I think they're all learning the right skills and techniques in the boat, James, and we're only going to see better sailing race after race here.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is absolutely top-end conditions. Make no mistake about that. We've seen one capsize today from Record Point. These guys are absolutely on the limit, and you do have to keep pushing as hard as you can to try and get these races.
Steve Thomas will be loving this. ID ruined his day earlier when they snatched one. Now it's Pavement's turn to steamroll them. Steve won't be missing his chance. He'll be pushing all the way to the line.
Absolutely, and you can see ID a little down speed here, just stuck like glue to the water. They've got to get it up on the foils, but their leeward foil's actually raised up, so they may not realise that. They can't see through the sails. They're in a really bad setup here, so a few mistakes, and this is Pavement's chance.
This is their 6th lap in pretty rough conditions out here, James. So these guys would be, you know, they've been 3-point foiling a lot on the downwind, working hard with the foils.
Yeah, see Ed Power, he's sucking in the big ones there. He's working super hard. His heart rate will be at max, and you can't make any mistakes.
So critical that the communication's nice and precise when everyone's under the pump physically.
Yeah, and Dan Morris just getting that precision trim on the foil. You saw them crash down. Very easy to get unbalanced and do those wheelies.
So James, when these boats jibe, what has the bowman got to do with the foils? What limits him being able to move through the boat?
Yeah, so he's got a really tough job. Sometimes he's going to want to put some trim on the foil, but he's got to move his body weight across. So it's a lot of synchronisation that's required.
Good to see Record Point disappearing off screen there upright. They're not in the race, but they are in one piece as Paul Campbell-James leaves the door ajar a little bit further with that splashdown.
Yeah, a lot of water over the boat there. There you can hear it. They got to go. They got to jibe. They got to get this boat over the finish line. They're really close now.
And Fang Warren getting out on the wire early there. Ed working hard with the foils. Looks like trying a different technique, possibly with CJ and Fang out on the wire.
Yeah, you can see only 200 metres in it to Pavement here behind who are chasing him down. This race isn't quite over yet.
Very, very hard boats from a strategy perspective to be able to protect your position with, you know, the difference in boat speed and different angles and a lot of splits we're seeing out on the course.
Yeah, often at times like these, you just need to let the boat settle and let it sail. Go a long way from each manoeuvre to the next, and here you can see they're just rushing it. The more you do, sometimes like quicksand, you just sink deeper, so they just need to settle, relax, otherwise Pavement's going to be right up next to them here.
That's got to be fatigue for Paul Campbell-James and company as we see the moment there. They're all on the dance floor and the music stopped and no one's got a seat at the moment.
Do you think, James, we were talking before about the bowman waiting to induce lift into the foil before running to the other side? Really close to the finish line here. You can see the black and white checkered mark come into the screen and they've held on to second place on the downwind.
That's an incredible tale. That is one for the regatta. I mean, amazing to think they could have been racing with 2 personnel and somehow they still managed to hold on to second position. ID will be telling that tall tale for a very long time to come.
Yeah, solid day of results from ID. Pavement getting pretty close to the finish line here as well. Sending it on the downwind. Looks like they've got a bit of flow going now.
Yeah, and look, these guys have got really good wheels downwind. They've got great pace, and Definitely got a little edge on CJ on ID there on these downwind legs.
And they've crossed the line as well. A good day's showing from Pavement. The boys will be happy with that.
You got it, mate. Yep, that's good there. 2.5. Tiny bit of jib on. Okay, go in further.
And they're still just doing a little bit of training here, using every minute they can to just dial in these boats and figure out the settings. And here comes Clean Made.
Olivia Price, she sure looked quick today, and she's been banging down the door of Pavement on this race. Had a little battle, got ahead, poked a few times, got her nose in front, but finishes our final race of Saturday's session in 4th.
Absolutely, and as we said before, it's really top-end conditions, incredibly tough out there right now. You can't underestimate how much of a handful these boats are in these conditions.
And you can't underestimate how much it means to these sailors as well, seeing Olivia Price, Josh McKnight share some skin, bit of a high five. What a great feeling that must be, Tessa Parkinson, to complete a clean sweep of races there. 3 finishes, great stuff from them.
Yeah, great start to the Superfoiler Grand Prix. They finished 3 two-lap races today in pretty testing conditions. That building sea breeze just got windier and windier. You know, these sailors have done 6 laps, lots of tacks, lots of jibes, top mark bearaways, bottom mark roundings, with limited time in the boat. I think awesome result, and I'm excited to see racing tomorrow.
I can't wait. Let's remind ourselves how it all unfolded for our final race. Race 4, Euroflex again on top. Nathan Outeridge doing what he does best, leading from the front. ID, astounding effort from Paul Campbell-James, considering for a large part of that race he was in the water. Pavement as well, finishing in 3rd, and well for Clean Made. Olivia Price continuing to dazzle here on Adelaide's outer harbour. Faultless, and Jack managed to catch up with the man afraid of sharks.
CJ, nice work today, lads. What happened? Tell me the truth. Did Fang kick you off the boat, or did you just fall off?
Yeah, I was giving him a bit too much abuse, so I just got a little elbow and out the back. No, we just came out of tack and accelerated a bit faster than I was used to, and I was standing a bit far back and just kind of couldn't take a step backwards and tripped backwards over the tiller bar, and there I was having a little dip. But the boys did pretty well without me, you know. They actually got foiling probably better without me on board, so we might use that in the future, just me like plop off the back and leave them to it.
Did you see any fins while you're in the water?
Well, I was certainly worried about a few fins, I'm not going to lie. My first thought was get back on the boat. My second thought was they have great whites around here.
Well, to get away from great whites, you're going to have to do more than breaststroke, mate. Good luck tomorrow. Good luck tomorrow. Well done, guys.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Good to see Jack McCartney giving CJ a pizzling for his swimming technique there. Well deserved. And it was really well deserved for our winning Superfoiler today. The Euroflex guys, absolutely masterful stuff there.
So, Nath, a clean sweep today. What were you doing right?
I think we were just doing the little things right. It was a pretty tough course, you know, really narrow. And in that first race, we finally worked out how to jibe nicely, and I think all our gains are on the downwind. So, you know, very happy with that, and hoping we can do more again tomorrow.
So, any sketchy moments today, Nath?
No, we managed to keep most of it under control. There was one moment we had a full-speed bearaway, and Glennie was yipping and yahooing off the back, but you know, we were just trying to get it around safely. But I'm sure tomorrow there's going to be plenty of sketchy moments.
What was your top speed, do you reckon?
I reckon we would have been, you know, high 20s, maybe just clicked over 30 at times, but, you know, those boundaries come on you pretty quickly, so you don't really want to go too fast on this race course.
Good luck for tomorrow, mate.
Yeah, thanks very much. Cheers, guys.
Well, we can't wait for tomorrow. After 4 races, we've been delighted with the display from Euroflex. They're on a clean sweep of 24 points. ID surviving a scare, they're on 19, and just 2 points behind it's Steve Thomas aboard Pavement. Clean made another great showing from them. They're on 12. They'll be eyeing off a podium as we look towards double points for our Sunday session tomorrow. On behalf of the entire commentary team, Tessa, Jimmy, Jack and myself, looking forward to double points and a few more yippies and yahoos tomorrow.